Hello! Today I'm going to have a look at Fushigi Yugi, the mysterious play. By the way, any Japanese names in this I'm bound to pronounce wrong. Apologies in advance. Anyway, let's have a look at the blurb. A beloved fantasy from one of Japan's top creators. Prolific girls comic artist Yu Watsi has created a wonderfully exciting, funny and heartfelt tale of a normal junior high school girl who is transported into a fictional version of ancient China. She encounters base villains and dashing heroes and still manages to worry about her grades and where her next banquet is coming from. Right, well, that sounded a little bit cliche, which it is, I suppose, but I get the feeling this manga is a little bit old, so obviously presumably that means you could forgive clichéness. Also, it's quite fun to read, so I don't really mind it if your manga's clichés. It's still enjoyable to read because that's what you're aiming for. Anyway, so it's a traditional tale of a girl, a high school girl. You may be thinking Inuyasha. You wouldn't be far off the mark. Only, of course, this Inuyasha I think is more aimed at male readers, whereas this is slightly aimed at female readers. The gist of the story is that Mikia, the protagonist of the story, finds a mysterious book in a section of the library that's closed off. She opens it up and finds herself teleported into the world of the book. A little bit like Myst, in that there's a book that describes this fantasy world, and at the very last page there's a teleporter that takes you inside. Only in this case the protagonists don't have the advantage of having read the book before being teleported in. So anyway, she's been teleported into the fairy tale. The people that arrive in there are charged with finding 7 celestial warriors. Basically it's sort of like Zelda, find 7 sages before you can complete the game. A little bit like that. Before she can leave the book and get what she needs out of the manga. Because this is sort of a comic more aimed at girls than men, it's finding the celestial warriors actually takes a sort of a back seat in the plots to the relationships between characters. As the story goes on, it's more about relationship than anything else. The fact that there's 2 warring countries is less important than the relationship between the main characters, because a main character can take out several guards if he or she wants to. Anyway, there's not really politics doesn't matter as much as the relationships. Also, that doesn't matter as much as the relationships is actually finding the people, because the chances are that a new celestial warrior will turn up in the middle of a fight, or when somebody's feeling down and they need help, rather than the characters do work to find the celestial warriors, but it's finding the next celestial warrior to team up with doesn't come as a direct result of their efforts. It just happens as part of the plot of something else. It's more often the direct results of somebody's efforts will have a change in the relationship or people's feelings or so on. It's structured like that because it's a girls' comic. But that's not bad. If you don't like the sort of relationship-based shoujo girls' comics, then you won't like this one. But that doesn't make it a bad comic. Anybody can pick it up, and unless you really hate the genre, you will probably enjoy this because it's quite light-hearted and quite funny to read. It's not all serious. The main character is basically sort of an emotional punching bag that can be used for the plot's purposes. She's funny when she needs to. She takes a hit, and she's an emotional hit, and is sad when she needs to be. There's several love triangles going on, though there's sort of like one stated favourite for the main character. Like she likes one of the men in the series in particular. This being a girls' comic, of course, there's lots of male love interests for the female protagonist. I've read the first 6 volumes of the series, and I've got up to what almost looked like the ending, only to be taken away and saying, "Aha! You thought this was the ending, but it actually is not." And I've checked, and there's at least another 11 volumes in the series that I've got to read yet. I worry that it might start spinning on a little bit, but so far what I've read hasn't really spun on at all. It's not like, it doesn't fall into the trap that several action comics do, in that this volume there's a fight and this volume there's another fight and nothing's really changed between the two. Maybe the fact that it's shoujo manga helps that. It's people's relationships and who's on what side sort of changes every so often to keep things fresh. I hope it keeps fresh to the end. It hasn't shown any signs of being samey so far, and unless you're completely put off by the format, I'd recommend it.